What's up, family, and welcome back to Yvette's View. Welcome back to part two of the celebration of my daddy's Earth Day. Happy Earth Day, Daddy. This is your official, according to the birth certificate, your day of birth. Now, I'm going to give you the story that Daddy told me about this whole two birthday thing. Initially, my daddy told me that his mother wrote down, my grandma Pally, wrote down in her family Bible the 27th of December. So my daddy's thinking, okay, my mom obviously knows when she had me. According to my daddy, he said, well, my mama knows when I was born. It was that blind ass doctor who wrote the date down wrong. Now, my question was, as time went on and later on, how did he know the doctor was blind? But this is just the way that how my daddy would tell the story if you asked him about the two dates. And so if you ask him about why do you have two birthdays, he was like, well, my mama wrote down the 27th. I literally thought my birthday was on 27th. He said until we didn't recognize that the birthday wasn't until he was about to retire, that the date that was on the birth certificate was different than the day we had all been celebrating for years. So during that time when my daddy was about to retire, my mom was having to do paperwork and things of that nature for my daddy as he was leaving or whatever she had to do. And they looked at the birth certificate and it said the 29th. So we're like, so literally for all of our lives, my brothers and I, we knew the 27th. Now, to keep it real with you, my daddy wasn't even into birthdays that much, but since we were and continue to be, we would always celebrate his birthday anyway on the 27th and give him whatever he wanted and stuff like that. But once we had the two birthdays, we was like, okay, well, you get two birthdays. So because he got two birthdays here, my mother said she'll let me know that she started that. So I didn't know that she started that, but again, at the end of the day, we started to celebrate both days, the 27th and the 29th. So that is the story behind the 2 days. His mama gave him the day she knew she had him, but the blind ass doctor wrote it down wrong. And that's just the way my daddy would tell the story. And he was always good at wanting to tell us stories about the old country. That's what he called it. When he gave us, tried to talk about his mom or his grandmother and his dad. And one thing that stood out to him that he decided to pass on down to us was a saying that my grandpa used to tell him. So obviously it was significant to him that he thought, he should pass that on down to us, which I will say is something that stands the test of time. It's not something that you couldn't relate to today. And that saying was, it's nice to sleep in bed all day, but there's no return. And then just walk out. Now, my daddy thought, why does my father keep telling me these riddles like I'm supposed to understand this? And he just told him, you keep on living, you'll understand. Later on you'll understand. So I was like, okay. Daddy decided, okay, well, he's going to do the same thing to his children. So when he would come in our room, if we decided to sleep late or whatever the case may be, he'd, come on in your room and it's nice to sleep in bed all day, but there's no return. Especially if he needed you to get up and do something. I guess it might have been on a Saturday. Might need to do the lawn or get up and do some housework or whatever it was. But he decided that he wanted to give us, that came from his father, pass it on down to us. Over time, we kind of understood what that meant. And so for those of you that may not understand what that means, I'm going to give it to you the way he gave it to us. Just keep on living. It'll come to you. It'll make sense to you over time. It's nice to sleep in bed all day, but there are no returns. Now, somewhere along the way there, my dad, I think, decided that he wanted to leave something of his own from his mind to leave with us or with me. So one of the sayings that he would say to me, when he would be outside after he retired, he'd be outside and in the garage, or yeah, most of the time in the garage, piddling around, fixing on something, working on the car, or sometimes he would just be sitting in his thinking chair. So understand, he had a chair that he called his thinking chair. And so in his thinking chair, sometimes he would be sitting out there just, I would think he might be sleeping or whatever, but he was like, I'm just thinking. And so I'm like, well, so what you doing, Daddy? And he was like, he wouldn't say nothing for a minute. I'm like, okay. I said, you all right? What you doing? And he would do this to me. 5 minutes. I got more thoughts in 5 minutes than the average nigga all day long. And I'm going, okay, so why? Why did you say that? For what purpose? What is that? What am I supposed to get from that? And his thoughts were, most people don't have minds to think about things that are significant. They're just kind of having random thoughts or thinking about what he would consider, I'm going to abbreviate it, BS thoughts throughout their day. And he said to me, because this is just how he thought, that he had more significant thoughts in 5 minutes than the average person would have all day long. And I'm going, man, it must really be hard to be you, Daddy, because wow, if you're thinking like astral projection stuff and everybody's still sitting here thinking around about, doing mortal minded stuff, I'm like, it's got to be hard living amongst us, isn't it hard? And of course he never answered that one. And so I guess, he probably wasn't going to answer that for me anyway, but because he just liked to kind of give you random things for you to think about. Because I will say that was something that, because he was a thinker, anybody that he came in contact with, he always wanted you to think about what you were saying, what you were doing, how you were doing it, why you were doing it, and the purpose of why you do what you do. So that was my daddy. That's always going to be something that's, repetitive in his mindset. So let me give you some other little things about my dad that he would do that was significant to me, that I will tell some of the young folks about, that you might not know about, and I'm sure you don't know because you didn't get the chance to be around him. But the language that we use now on the computer, LOL and TBT, before we had laptops, before we had personal computers, my daddy was literally speaking acronym. And when I thought about it later on, when we got into the computer language and now we're speaking acronym, and I would always tell my nephews, stop speaking alphabet to me. I don't speak that, speak language to me. And they would laugh at me because I would tell them that, I was like, because I couldn't get into the acronyms, although my daddy was speaking that. When I'm seeing it in writing is completely different, because now I've got to read this stuff, whereas my daddy was, saying this in a conversation. So for instance, he could be talking about, I'm gonna give you an acronym that he would use, but he could be talking about anything, and at the end, in the middle of the sentence, he would say whatever he was saying and say just JIC. Instead of saying just in case, he'd say JIC. So now you know what JIC means, just in case. My daddy would shortcut, instead of doing the whole word, all of the words, it was like, I don't feel like that. I'm gonna give you the acronyms and then I'll tell you what it means. But so you'll start getting acclimated to how I'm getting ready to speak to you from this point on. So my daddy would say JIC, stuff happens, you'll be prepared, or you'll get yourself prepared. And I used to actually speak that to people that I worked with, and they would ask me what that meant, and I would tell them. I was like, well, my daddy would say that, and I thought it was just common sense stuff. But for other people, no. I mean, I literally lived around this genius of a man that I was saying things that I didn't even know that that was going to be a thing. Let's just keep it a buck. Who knew that most people would start communicating in acronyms? I didn't. We always use words. But that was the genius of my daddy that I loved, that I appreciate now. Didn't really understand it at that time, but I damn sure appreciate it now. The other part of my daddy that is interesting to and also frustrating, because he used to frustrate me. He was a stickler for words. So he was the type of guy or man that was a man who was a play on words as well. So if you were speaking to him about something significant and you used a simple word like happiness, he would stop you or interrupt you and say, well, wait a minute, what does that mean? Now, happiness, you think you know what happiness means by its definition. And so you're going, happiness? And I'm like, well, you're just happy. What does it mean though? And you're going, wait a minute now. He has you questioning your own intelligence. Because I'm like, wait, now I know what happiness is. Why can't I articulate it to give him the definition that's going to be, significant for him to accept? That would be my problem that I would have. Like, how can I explain this to him where he won't ask me, okay, well then what does that mean? Because literally sometimes the synonym to the word is going to carry you right on back and loop you right on back to the same word. So you still going around in this circle because he was a play on words. He was somebody who loved to talk about words and, see if you knew what you were talking about. And if you didn't, woe unto you, because he somewhat eat you alive. But that was my daddy too. And then I would say sometimes he just liked to play with you and, mess with your head a little bit. I like that about him, but then that was always frustrating for me too. Because I'm like, stopping me in my conversation and let me finish my story. He's not gonna let me do it. But that was our way of doing stuff. Let's see what else. Never forget that my daddy was a straight shooter. Came to you from the hip. There was not a subject that he couldn't talk to you about, but he didn't give you the he didn't give you the small world after all version. He didn't give you the Disneyland version. He gave you the straight raw and uncut version, and that passion in which he would give it. Some people would think that, oh, well, he's so harsh, he's so cold, no, it was the passion of, I need you to get this, and I need you to get this now if it appeared to be life or death for you. So he's like, I'm not going to be soft with you about it. I'm trying to save your life here. We don't have time for, we don't got time for that. We got time, you either going to get out of this water or you going to boil. You want to be like the frog who sits in the water and they turn the heat up slowly and the frog don't even know that he's being cooked. Do you want to be that way? So that's his thought pattern that he would think like when he's giving you whatever information that you came to him for and asked him for. So if you don't want that, don't ask him, because he's not going to be gentle, as gentle as you might want him to be. I'll put it that way. But you had to appreciate that at the end of the day, because when you went back and thought about it, it's like, you know what? I might not have liked how he said it, but damn it, he sure told the truth. And I cannot not accept what's factual here. Also, never gonna get out of this without talking about how my daddy could cook. His favorite of all was pinto beans. See, I'm cutting that up. He liked his pins. So daddy would love, we're actually going to have pinto beans or chili beans for his birthday in honor of him. His favorite meal, that's what we're doing for his meal today. We're gonna have pinto beans. I'm just gonna put, make it chili. But he loved chili beans too. But he liked his pans straight. You didn't have to give him chili beans. Just give him some straight pans, and he's good to go. His other favorite meal was okra, tomatoes, and onions with some dried shrimp. I learned how to make it to the way he liked it, and man, once I made that for him, he was like, "This girl, she know what she doing now." So once he showed me how to do it, I was able to do it for him like he liked it. But that made me happy too. That anytime I made something for him, the way he instructed me to make it, and it came out the way he would have done it, he's always like, "I can't believe it." I was like, "Well, you showed me how to do it. What did you expect?" But again, he would always kind of be surprised about that kind of stuff for me. But yeah, he could get busy on this food. But the barbecue, can't let that go. The barbecue, he had a science to it and a method to his cooking of his barbecue. And those that knew him or ever had the pleasure of indulging on any of his barbecue, the brisket is what stands out to most people. But for us, it was literally anything he put on the grill, from the chicken to the links to it wasn't just that it was on the grill, it was the flavor and the seasonings of the smoke and the combination of all that together, how he did it, and the fact that he had a science down to how he made sure that his fire was right. He just had a science, and it was down to a science. He could walk away, leave his food on the doggone grill, and know when to go back and check on it, and never burn it. The man was a genius. But I won't forget that my mom, she could burn too. So both of them together literally complemented each other when it came to the kitchen. My mom, she did them sides, especially if we had barbecue time. She had her greens and macaroni and cheese or whatever we was having on the side. Mama had that down. Daddy would be doing the meat and all that kind of stuff. So seeing them and their rhythm when they did that together was awesome to watch. You literally had to be there to see it. But to taste it, I'll put it this way. Anyone who ate at our house, she would think they had never eaten good food in their lives, because they were like, "Oh my gosh, you're gonna have to bring this to..." I'm like, "Look, we get this every day." Did not realize how spoiled we were. And I'm telling you, I knew I was spoiled, but I didn't know how spoiled I was when it comes to certain things that they did, how we functioned as a family, how we ate. It was just, I thought that's how everybody else did, but you found out later on when you went out to different people's houses for food and stuff like that, which was funny to us because barbecue was like, that's not even a question. I'm already knowing I'm not eating it. Just on GP. But that was then, and this is now. But yeah, I will say that both of them in the kitchen, they was on it. Speaking of both of my parents at this point, watching their relationship evolve the way it evolved, I'm going to say that their mindsets started to align. There were times where they literally both thought the same, just at different times, but the same thought pattern was for both of them. And when I started to watch how they evolved and what from a little girl on up to my adulthood, I had to say to myself, this is what a commitment looks like. And knowing my daddy, knowing that he's from that not doing nothing half-ass, he was that type that if he says he's going to do something, he's going to do it, and he's going to do it all the way in, not halfway, not neutral, not part. No, it's either he's all in or he's not in. And that I had to appreciate and still appreciate about my daddy, is that whatever he said he was going to do, he's going to do it. And to add to that, he made a promise to my mother that he would stick around for their 60th wedding anniversary. And because he had made that promise to my mom that he would stick around for that 60th, I wanted to make sure that that celebration was going to be epic. So I invited as many relatives that I could that could make it. Well, mostly the nucleus, because that was something that he wanted to, that my dad, I think, wanted to make sure he got straight and felt good about before, he was about to transition. That's just in hindsight of me thinking that, because what was so amazing is that it was epic, that the people who came that needed to be here was the people he needed to speak to, say whatever he needed to say, do whatever he needed to do. They were here for that moment. And when I look back in hindsight, I look back at the smile on my daddy's face that day. The smile on my daddy's face that day was completely different to me that I had ever seen in my lifetime. I can tell you that when I happened to just check him out that particular day, I'm watching him in the kitchen and I'm seeing this smile on his face, and I'm going, I've never seen that before. And because again, my daddy has a beautiful smile. He loved to smile. But that smile seemed just a little bit different that day. It was a smile of, yeah, this is what it's all about. Look at what I produced. And look at the extension of him. And when he was looking around, because I'm so thankful that he had 3 generations there. He had his children, his grandchildren, and his great-grandchildren. And that was something that I know he wanted. And he wanted to be involved in that and love that, and just getting all excited behind his having his great-grands and just seeing that new life around. But just knowing that where it stemmed from, where it came from, and to look back and just be like, yeah, I'm good. That was the look or the smile that it appeared, at least to me, that's what that smile was about. That he was like, yeah, I did it. I did all I came to do. I'm finished. And because he was a man of his word, on April 1st, 2021 made 60 years for my mom and my dad. And that day was, or that weekend, because it was pretty much a weekend that we celebrated, he enjoyed every piece of food that was there, everybody that was there. He had something significant to tell them that he didn't see on a regular basis. He had something to say to them, and he was able to get whatever he wanted to say to them off. And I think at that point he knew, because at one point he was always letting us know that he wasn't always going to be here. And so to get prepared, he was trying to prepare us. But I will say that that was the best weekend memory for me that I will cherish, just because that smile I'll never forget. When I think about it now, I'm thinking, dang, that's what he was saying in his mind, obviously, because I've never seen that before. And he's just, the joy that he had that day, that weekend rather, I keep saying that day, but that weekend is just, it's epic. So I call that 60th wedding anniversary party epic, because it was epic for him and both of them together, but especially for him, knowing that he may not or might not was going to be here, or he was planning on leaving, or whatever the case may be. He was resolved with it. He had settled in with, yeah, this is what it's all about, and this is what I've accomplished. This is what I've done. And I think he was satisfied with what he did. So on July 8th, this year, 2021, my daddy decided to sleep and go home. And I had, a month prior to that, had a mindset or a thought that, if my daddy decided that he wanted to leave and he wanted to transcend, I wouldn't like it, but I would have to respect it. And even though that thought came to me, and when the reality of that day came, it's still not something that I necessarily wanted, but I still had to respect it. And because of the man that he was, and the man that he showed me to be, showed me that I should be this big person, and to always, his other saying, that I told everybody the day he transitioned, everybody that was falling apart, I told everybody that day that one of the things that Daddy would tell me, he says, only the strong survives. And from his strength, I was able to get through this day, this celebration, this honor for him with so much happiness and excitement and love. I'm so forever grateful for him that I wanted to share him with you guys. And so, thank you guys. Also, this is a twofold type of thing as well, I wanted to say, because I wanted to give you some information about my daddy to some of my blood relatives that will never get the opportunity to be in his presence. You'll know a little bit about the genius mindset from the lineage from which you come from. And you can rest assured, or try to figure out, or maybe you're not understanding why you do some of the things you do, or why you might think the way you think. It comes from somewhere. And I'm showing you now that you come from a line of family of musicians, scientists. Oh, forgot to say this, and I'm going to leave this with you. My daddy also loved science, loved the anatomy, studying the anatomy. He wanted to even be a doctor at one point. That's just the last little bit of side note that just happened to come to me because I'm ending this. But I'm so thankful for all of you for coming back and enjoying what I just enjoyed, giving you this information about my daddy, his day to day. I'm going to be going up later on eating his favorite meal today in honor of my daddy. So with that being said, thank you all for coming back. Thank you all for the love that you've shown me just thus far. I hope I do you all proud. My brothers, my family, I hope I do you guys proud with this. And hopefully you will come back. Oh, and I'm going to leave you all with this. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to share. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to hit that notification bell. And don't forget the word all, so that anytime that I post, you'll be notified and you'll know when I'm getting ready to come live on and do what I need to do, what I do. So with that being said, thank you so much again. Love and light to the family. Happy birthday, Daddy. Happy Earth Day, Daddy, again. You're my king. You're my hero. You're my Heru. You were my protector. You were my all in all. I love you, Daddy. To the moon and back. Love you guys. Peace.